This Saturday is UFC 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, and this is going to be my full card predictions. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you a quick breakdown and prediction. Starting off with the first fight of the night, André Lima versus Mitch Raposo. Lima got bit in his last fight, won the fight via disqualification. It was a very competitive fight up until that point. And then you have Mitch Raposo making his UFC debut, 4-fight win streak, has fought on Dana White's Contender Series, lost to Jake Hadley, and also fought on The Ultimate Fighter a few years back and lost both those opportunities. But now he's stepping into the UFC. I believe he was a champion in the organization he was in before coming to the UFC. Now his last fight was a 5-round fight. You know, this is a matchup where I have to take Lima. I'm going to pick André Lima to get this done. I just think, you know, Lima's much better on the feet. I think Raposo, you know, the fights that I watched of him, he's like loading up on the right hand. He's kind of just plodding forward. He likes to mix in the takedowns. But Lima, even in his last fight, okay, he did get taken down, but he was consistently scrambling right back to his feet. And I don't think Raposo, looking at the level of opposition he's fought, I don't think he's going to come in and just be able to take down Lima and control him on the ground. I don't think he's going to outstrike him. I think Lima's more technical on the feet. I think Raposo has some decent power. He has some very good cardio as well. His last fight was a 5-round fight. But I think Lima's going to be a little bit more technical on the feet, a little bit faster, better footwork. I think if he does get taken down, he'll be able to scramble back to his feet. And I think Lima gets it done. I'm going to pick Lima via decision just because I think Raposo is decent enough to avoid getting finished. But ultimately, you look at the level of opposition. The guy he beat in his last fight, 4-2. Before that, 2-0. Before that, 7-4. Before that, 3-2. And then before that, you're getting back to the Jake Hadley loss, which Jake Hadley not even doing that well in the UFC. You have Lima, hasn't fought the best level opposition either, but still a little bit better. You look at his wins, 8-0 in his last fight. You know, he did get bit, fair enough. So, he didn't technically really actually win it, but I thought he was winning that fight, even though it was very competitive. The guy on Dana White's Contender Series, 14-1, 7-2 before that, 4-2, and then you get back to 4-0, which, so those last two wins aren't great. But ultimately, I think Lima, decent enough on the feet, decent enough scrambles to get up off bottom. And I think Raposo just has to rely on his, cardio. And it's a 3-round fight. It's not a 5-round fight. Has to rely on his cardio and his grappling to get it done. Because I believe if he doesn't get it down, he'll get outstruck on the feet. So I'm going to go André Lima. I'm going to say decision. I'm going to say maybe like a 29-28 decision. I think Raposo will look okay in this fight. Moving up on the card to the best fight on the card, we have Jocelyn Edwards versus Ailin Perez. I'm being sarcastic for those of you who don't understand that. What can I say about this fight? Not looking forward to it whatsoever. That's what I can say about this fight. You have Jocelyn Edwards coming off a loss against Nora Cornell. Before that, a win over Lucy Pudilova, split decision win there, garbage fight. Split decision against Yi Kim before that. It's just low-level women's MMA here. Ailin Perez beat Lucy Pudilova in the last fight. That ground and pound in the second round was an absolute embarrassment. Win over Ashley Evans-Smith before that, which, what does that mean? And a loss to Stephanie Egger, got finished by Stephanie Egger. This is a garbage fight. Garbage fight. Both of them really like to use the takedowns and get top control. I think what this comes down to is, I think Perez is better in the grappling. And I also think if the grappling cancels each other out, I think that Ailin Perez will do better on the feet. I think she's a better striker, and neither girl has a good cardio. Ailin Perez was completely gassed in the third round of her last fight. But Jocelyn Edwards, Nora Cornell doesn't really have great grappling. It was reversing positions and, beating up in the clinch as well. So I think Ailin Perez is tough enough and durable enough and just scrappy enough. Not really durable enough, but scrappy enough. I think she'll get it done. I think she'll do more damage and, transitional positions on the ground in the clinch. And I think Ailin Perez gets it done. I'm going to pick her via decision, but I'm not super confident in that. But I think she gets it done. I think she's just a better overall mixed martial artist. Moving up on the card, we have Mickey Gall versus Bassil Hafez. I am of the belief that Bassil Hafez got robbed against Jack Della Maddalena. It wasn't like a brutal robbery. I can kind of understand it. But I thought he should have won that fight. And he took that fight on short notice, landed some good shots on the feet, was taking Jack Della Maddalena down. Fair enough, JDM was looking for guillotines. But I thought he won that fight, okay? So taking that logic and then look over at Mickey Gall, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, got finished by Mike Malott. Mike Malott got finished by Neil Magny. Mike Malott, I never want to hear his name again. Complete embarrassment there. Before that, lost to Alex Morono. Before that, beat Jordan Williams, bottom of the barrel UFC caliber. Before that, lost to Mike Perry. Again, inactive as well. Or not again, I didn't even say that yet. Inactive. You know, you're going back 4 fights. You're going back 4 years ago. So Mickey Gall was a scrub brought into the UFC. The UFC was praying that he would lose to CM Punk. For those of you who didn't watch many years ago, they signed CM Punk. And then there was like a lottery for who was going to fight CM Punk. And Mickey Gall called out CM Punk when Dana White was watching one of their regional cards. And they thought, you know what? Mickey Gall's kind of shit. Let's sign him to the organization and maybe CM Punk can get a win and we can milk him for at least 2 fights. That's what the UFC was thinking. Since then, Mickey Gall never really succeeded in any respect. I think he has a TKO loss to Diego Sanchez not that long ago, last couple years when Diego was still kind of washed. So I'm going Bassil Hafez. I don't even know if I said that yet. All this to say I'm going Bassil Hafez. I think Bassil Hafez has really good grappling. I think he's super strong, has good cardio, even on short notice against a guy like JDM, has good enough striking, and is very durable. So how are you going to pick Mickey Gall, who's brought in as a scrub, to potentially lose to CM Punk? He won fair enough, and CM Punk galloped across the cage and just got taken down and destroyed. But CM Punk never belonged in the organization. Bassil Hafez belongs in the UFC, I believe. I believe he's actually a guy that could eventually be somebody. I don't want to say he's going to be a contender. I don't want to say he's going to be a champion, but I think he had a very good showing against JDM. And while I can't elevate him completely off of that, because JDM did take that on short notice as well, I think it's good enough to out-grapple Mickey Gall, because Mickey Gall primarily relies on his grappling. And I think Hafez has better striking. Neither one of them have real crisp striking, but I think Bassil Hafez has better striking. He was mixing in the body shots against JDM. He was landing on the chin of JDM. And I think he's going to beat up Mickey Gall. I'm going to pick Bassil Hafez. I'm going to say second round TKO. I'm going to say he gets it done second round TKO. I just think he's way better than Mickey Gall. And it's crazy Mickey Gall's only 32 years old. I would have thought he was older than that. But then again, he did get brought in the UFC very young. So they're both the same age. A little bit of a height advantage for Mickey Gall, a little bit of a reach advantage. I don't think it'll matter. I think Hafez can take him down, bully him on the ground. I think Hafez will have a power advantage on the feet. And, if Mickey Gall is getting finished, in 2 years layoff since his last fight. I know I said, he hasn't been very active in general. 2 years layoff since his last fight. I think Bassil Hafez gets it done. I'm going to pick Hafez to TKO him in the second round, clip him on the feet, or ground and pound TKO with nasty, powerful ground and pound TKO, ground and pound strikes. So I'm going Bassil Hafez second round TKO. Moving up on the card, we have Niko Price versus Alex Morono. Believe it or not, I know the gut instinct with this fight is to just pick Alex Morono. I know that's the gut instinct. I kind of am flirting with the idea of picking Niko Price, because it seems like, let me know down in the comments if you're watching every single prediction on this card in this video. Does it seem like Morono's kind of fallen off a bit? I know Niko Price is basically a dead body at this point, but it seems like Morono's fallen off. He got a win against Court McGee, did not look impressive. Court McGee is literally a dead body. Okay, before that, lost to Joaquin Buckley. Okay, that's not that bad considering where Buckley is now. Before that, beat Tim Means. Beating the Dirty Bird doesn't really mean that much. Before that, got finished by Santiago Ponzinibbio. Had some moments in that fight, but I just think Morono hasn't really looked good, especially in his last 2 fights against Court McGee, against Joaquin Buckley. Niko Price is a savage, and I think Niko Price could walk down Morono and beat him up a bit. But how am I going to pick Niko Price now that I'm really thinking about it? Like, Niko Price coming off a KO loss against Robbie Lawler, got slept badly. Before that, got KO'd by Phil Rowe, which actually had a decent showing in that fight. I think in the third round, rocked him. I just recently rewatched that fight since they're both on the card. Rocked him in the third round, looked for a finish, then ended up getting finished himself. His last win is against Alex Oliveira, and that was almost 3 years ago. Lost to Michelle Pedetta. That's not bad. Look, I'm going to be honest. I think I know everyone's going to be picking Morono. Let me see what Tapology says. 88% is picking Morono. I know a lot of people are going to be picking Morono. I think Niko Price can get it done, but I'm not going to pick Niko Price. There's no way I can pick him. I think Morono is more technical on the feet, clearly. Niko Price just runs at you and throws wild winging shots. Niko Price doesn't have grappling to kind of back up on, if the striking isn't going well. I think Morono kind of has pillow hands a bit. So I'm going to pick Morono to get a decision win. I don't even know, maybe 29-28, maybe Niko Price rocks him at some point in the fight, because, Morono, I believe he even got clipped up. I think he got rocked by Court McGee. That's even crazier. That makes me want to pick Niko Price even more. But I'm going to go Morono to get it done via decision. But don't be surprised if somehow Price pulls it off. But I think Morono will just be a little bit slicker on the feet, good footwork, avoiding the forward pressure of Niko Price, and Niko Price just fights really sloppy. And that's okay when you're young and fast and super athletic. But as your body starts to wear down, you start to suffer these KO losses, you get older, he's 34 going on 35. It doesn't work as well. It just doesn't work as well. So I'm going to pick Morono to get it done. I'm going to pick him to get it done via decision just because I don't think he has enough power to put him away. But I just think Morono gets it done. I don't trust Niko Price to get a win in 2024. And how are we already in the middle of 2024? That is absolutely mind-blowing. But moving on to the next fight, we have Phil Rowe versus Jake Matthews. This is actually a tough fight to pick. This is a very tough prelim fight to pick. Phil Rowe lost to Neil Magny in his last fight via split decision. I arguably thought he won the fight. But then you have Jake Matthews, who's like trading wins and losses. Lost to Michael Morales in his last fight. That's a decent contender. Before that, beat Darius Flowers. I actually believe I picked Darius Flowers to win that fight. Darius Flowers looked good early. I think he might have stepped in on short notice, but got a finish there. Before that, lost to Matthew Semmelsberger, which hasn't aged quite well. Before that, and this is why I'm going so far back in his fight history, is he has a win against Andre Fialho. He looked so improved, and he looked so good in that Fialho fight. All for us to find out that was just, Fialho wasn't that good. And, Jake Matthews had a really on night because he looked incredible. Got the finish there, then Fialho went and got KO'd 75 times after that. So, that you look at that, it's just not that good. Got dominated by Sean Brady before that. This is a matchup. I feel like they're both going to be striking. I don't really think this is going to be one of those matchups where either guy is really desperately looking for the takedown. And honestly, Darius Flowers took him down, controlled him a little bit. I think Michael Morales took him down and controlled him a little bit. I'm saying I think, and I literally just watched that fight yesterday, but I'm pretty sure he mixed in some grappling in that fight. His striking is good. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not. And then you have Phil Rowe, who has really good straight shots, mixes in the grappling occasionally, did decent in the clinch against Neil Magny. I know people probably laugh at that, but if you're not really good in your grappling, Neil Magny has exposed so many people in the grappling and in the clinch over the years. So it's like, I know Neil Magny has got out-grappled by certain guys, but he's getting out-grappled by the elite of the elite, where you can get exposed if your grappling ain't up to par. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So I think Phil Rowe maybe has an advantage in the grappling, and I think he throws a lot more straighter shots, and he has some decent power, and he has decent heart as well. I talked about it earlier, that fight against Niko Price. He was winning, then got hurt badly. I believe it was in the third round. I'm pretty sure it was in the third round. Got hurt badly. Niko Price was all over him, swarming him. He survived and then came back and got the finish in that very round as well. So I'm going to go Phil Rowe. I'm going to pick Phil Rowe to get it done. Does he finish Jake Matthews? I feel like I'm picking a lot of decisions, but my initial thought is to pick Phil Rowe by decision. So I'm going to pick Phil Rowe via decision. I think he just gets it done. I think he has straighter shots on the feet. I think he has really good footwork, side-to-side movement. I think Jake Matthews, hit or miss. I'm not going to bank on Jake Matthews having a world-class night. I'm not banking on that. So I'm going to go Phil Rowe. Also, you look at, 4-inch height advantage for Phil Rowe, and you also have, 8.5-inch reach advantage. So massive height and reach advantage for Phil Rowe. I still feel like he's getting a little bit better as well. I know he's 33 years old, but I feel like each fight out, he looks a little bit better. Nothing crazy. I don't think he's going to be like a contender in the welterweight division, but I also think he can mix in the grappling. Longer, taller, super rangy, uses his length well, pause. I'm going to go Phil Rowe to get it done, outstriking him, mixing in the grappling occasionally, just getting a takedown. Jake Matthews scrambles back to his feet after like maybe 30 seconds on the ground, 15 seconds on the ground. I'm going to pick Phil Rowe to get it done. I'm going to say Phil Rowe gets it done 30-27 decision. Moving up on the card, we have Grant Dawson versus Joe Solecki. This is like a mirror match. I don't know if anyone else picked up on this. This is literally like a mirror match. Both of them want to spam grappling nonstop. Both of them want to get to your back and control you. Who is better on the ground and who is better on the feet? I think Grant Dawson is. I hesitate with that pick. But I underrated Grant Dawson massively going into that Damir Ismagulov fight. And then he came out there and dominated Damir Ismagulov. Looked so good in the scrambles. Was able to find that back position and just control Damir Ismagulov. Then he comes out and shits the bed against Bobby Green. Gets brutally chinned against Bobby Green badly. Borderline jab, but it was kind of a left straight. Grant Dawson, you have to respect his grappling. I think it's really, really solid. Joe Solecki has really, really good BJJ, but he can be taken down and end up on bottom and controlled a bit, especially when he's trying to look for submissions. He'll end up on bottom. He was looking for submission against Drakkar Klose in his last fight, got slammed on his head, KO'd. Before that, beat Carl Deaton the third to be more specific. Before that, beat Alex De Silva, got controlled a bit in that fight as well. Honestly, I thought he lost that fight. 2-1. You know, Alex De Silva, you're going life and death with Alex De Silva. Before that, lost to Jarrett Gordon, was grappling Jarrett Gordon. When he ends up on bottom, he doesn't really have much from his back. He's good when he's on top looking for submissions, but doesn't have much off his back. I think Grant Dawson's the better grappler, and I think it's pretty close to even on the feet. So I'm going to pick Grant Dawson to get it done. I also don't trust Joe Solecki's stamina. I've seen him not gas out, but I see him really wearing down from heavy grappling in like that third round. So I'm going to say Grant Dawson gets it done, third round rear naked choke. I think Dawson's grappling is really solid. He's really strong. He finds that back position and he refuses to let it go. You look at the strength of schedule for Grant Dawson. Bobby Green, I think that's, Bobby Green, I know he chinned him, but I'm saying Bobby Green's way better than pretty much anyone Joe Solecki's ever fought, unless I'm forgetting someone. And then, before that, Damir Ismagulov. I know he isn't really around anymore, but Damir Ismagulov, really, really solid everywhere. I actually thought Damir was going to win that fight. Before that, Mark Madsen, okay, now we're starting to get a little bit crazy, but Mark Madsen was an Olympic wrestler, out-grappled him. Before that, Jarrett Gordon, submitted Jarrett Gordon, where, Joe Solecki's losing to Jarrett Gordon. And I know that's 3 years ago for Joe Solecki, and that's 2 years ago for Grant Dawson, but either way, I think Grant Dawson gets it done. I think Joe Solecki will be looking for submissions on the ground, maybe end up in a scramble of his own, like create a scramble of his own. But I think Dawson, in those scrambles, you'll see those moments in scrambles where certain guys just have the edge. I'm trying to think where we recently saw it. I believe it was the 5th round of Pantoja Urseg, where a guy just has the advantage in the scrambles and just finds his way into the better position, finds his way to the top position. I think that's going to be Grant Dawson in this fight, and I think that grappling and constant scrambling on the ground, Joe Solecki will get tired. I'm going to pick Grant Dawson to get a third round rear naked choke. Loves to take the back position, loves to look for the rear naked choke, has 13 submissions overall. Joe Solecki has 8 of his 13 wins via submission, but overall, I think Dawson can control him. I'm picking Dawson to get a third round rear naked choke win. Moving up on the card, the featured prelim, we have Roman Kopylov versus César Almeida. This is kind of unexpected. Honestly, this is unexpected matchmaking. Kopylov was like on the cusp of top 15, loses to Fluffy Hernandez in his last fight where he just started to get tired. And, Hernandez, you cannot get tired against Fluffy Hernandez. Got rear naked choke. Then you have César Almeida, made his UFC debut a little over a month ago, against Dylan Bucka. Got out-grappled in the first round, but Bucka did no damage. Second round, Bucka's completely gas, gets finished. Basically with those elbows to the side of the head. The Travis Brown elbows, as I like to call them. Striker versus striker. César Almeida came off Dana White's Contender Series. Also, in kickboxing, because César Almeida is only 5-0, was a kickboxer for a long time. Fought Alex Pereira many, many times. 3 times. I believe he won one of them. But we're talking like 2013, 2015. What does that really mean now? He has absolutely no grappling. And honestly, I don't think his kickboxing is all that great. I really don't think his kickboxing is all that great. So I'm going to pick Roman Kopylov. I think Kopylov, his biggest hole was getting taken down himself. César Almeida ain't shooting a takedown. I think Kopylov can out-grapple César Almeida easily. That's how bad Almeida's grappling is. Was getting out-grappled easily by Bucka. Struggled in his Dana White Contender Series fight against Lucas Fernando. Eventually got the finish there. Striking doesn't look anything above average, in my opinion. Kopylov has that nasty southpaw kick to the body that he can use. Has really good hands. Has really good head kicks as well. Finished Claudio Ribeiro with a head kick. Finished Josh Frem with a nasty body shot. It was a punch. I think Roman Kopylov gets this done. I'm pretty confident Kopylov gets it done. César Almeida might get a shocking win, but this is a massive step up for Almeida. He's getting a huge step up. That's why I'm kind of shocked by this matchmaking a little bit. But I think Kopylov, really good movement. You have to pressure Kopylov. You have to put him on the back foot. You have to grapple him. You have to push him against the fence. You have to knee him to the body. You have to work on his cardio, sap his energy to make him look like a bad striker. Fluffy Hernandez was able to do that. Is César Almeida going to be able to do that? Absolutely not. And I think Kopylov can take down Almeida, control him a bit. I know we never really seen Kopylov mix in the grappling in his UFC career, at least not that I remember, not through the fights that I recently watched. But César Almeida is so rudimentary with his grappling. I could see Kopylov working him in the clinch, beating him up, taking him down even. I don't think he's going to mix in the grappling because I don't think he'll need to, but it'll be there if he does. I don't see anything special about César Almeida's kickboxing. I think Roman Kopylov beats him on the feet. I'm going to pick Kopylov second round TKO. I could even see him finishing with a body kick. I think that body kick is always there for Kopylov, and it's one of his best techniques, and he throws it with no telegraph, lightning fast. So I'm going to say Roman Kopylov second round TKO, starts it off with the body kick, finishes off César Almeida on the ground with ground and pound. Moving up on the card to the main card, we have Randy Brown versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Banger fight. Love this main card opener. I feel like this is like a perfect pay-per-view main card opener. I've flirted with the idea of picking Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos because he is an absolute savage. You know, he has a win many years ago against Sean Strickland. He went to a draw with Rinat Fakhretdinov, but, you know, are we really going to elevate him off a draw with a guy who was kind of hyped up as a contender? I don't think you can. Before that, Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Not very good win, in my opinion. That was a split decision. Before that, Benoit Saint-Denis, that's aged quite well, but you have to take into account Benoit Saint-Denis was up a weight class on short notice. And before that, it lost to Muslim Salihov. Split decision loss. I mean, that's 4 years ago. Zaleski, you know, hasn't really been super active. Randy Brown, win over Muslim Salihov in his last fight, brutal KO. Win over Wellington Turman, where he didn't look particularly great. In that fight, if you look at that fight, when I was watching the Wellington Turman fight, I'm like, maybe I'll pick Dos Santos. Turman was landing some good elbows in the clinch, busting up Randy Brown, working him over in the clinch, but ultimately Randy Brown was landing at range and won the fight. Before that, lost to Jack Della Maddalena. No shame in that. Got dropped, got submitted. Then we're getting like far back in his career. When I look at this matchup, I see a fight that Zaleski really has to turn it into a dogfight if he wants to win this matchup. He has to turn it into a dogfight, crazy fight. Rinat was dropping him in the first round, dominating him on the ground. Randy Brown, really good overall, just everywhere. He's a really good MMA fighter, not just a striker, not just a grappler. He relies on his striking primarily, but he will mix in the grappling occasionally, and he's not bad there. He's not great there, but not bad there. Also, 4-inch height advantage for Randy Brown, and also 5-inch reach advantage for Randy Brown, and he throws straight shots. Where Dos Santos, Zaleski dos Santos, throwing spinning techniques, throwing wild winging shots, looking for a KO. I have to go Randy Brown to get this done. I see him pumping the jab. I see him throwing the straight right. I see him eating some leg kicks. I think Zaleski's going to be chewing up that leg. Randy Brown's very heavy on that lead leg. But I think the lateral movement of Randy Brown, I think just the length of Randy Brown, I think the striking of Randy Brown, I see him kind of picking apart Zaleski dos Santos, and Dos Santos really just kind of leaning forward, wild winging, overextending himself, looking for a big shot to change the fight. And I think Randy Brown will never give him that opportunity. If this turns into a wild, crazy brawl, I can see Dos Santos getting it done. I don't think that's going to happen. Randy Brown, I think he's getting better with every single fight. He's 33 years old, going on 34. I still think he's getting better. I still think he's improving a little bit. He's been a guy that's kind of been stagnating for a while. I feel like this last year or two, he's gotten a little bit better. He's improved. It's not like a vast improvement, but I think he can get it done against a 37 going on 38 Zaleski. So I'm going to go Randy Brown to get it done. Does he finish him? Zaleski's pretty durable. Took some big shots against Rinat, which was a crazy fight, by the way. But Zaleski, let's be honest, Zaleski was dominating the first 2 rounds. Came back out of 10-8 third round because Rinat gassed himself out looking for the finish. Let's be real. Randy Brown's never going to do that. He's shown decent fight IQ in the past. I can't think of any, jarring moments where he made a horrible decision. So I see Randy Brown picking him apart at range, using his length, using his movement, eating some leg kicks, and maybe that'll cause some trouble for him. But ultimately, I think he gets it done. I'm going to say Randy Brown gets it done via decision. I'm going to say 30-27 decision for Randy Brown. Just using his length, using his jab, using his straight right, mixing in the kicks. He gets it done against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Moving up on the card, a heavyweight bout. Jailton Almeida versus Alexandr Romanov. This is one of the easiest picks on the entire card. Alexandr Romanov is a scrub. He is a scrub. Okay. I know the heavyweight division is bad. So for the heavyweight division, he's like a middle of the pack type guy or bottom of the top 15 guy. I don't even know where he's ranked currently. I'm not looking at it. Romanov when I look at Romanov, I'm like, damn, I can be in the UFC. I got a better physique than a UFC heavyweight. Not Jailton Almeida, okay? Not Jailton Almeida, but Romanov. You don't know what Romanov you're going to get. I remember, and I'm trying to think what fight it was. I want to say it was maybe the Jarrett Vanderaa fight. It was either Chase Sherman or Jarrett Vanderaa. I think it was Chase Sherman. Romanov came in. He looked like his muscles were more defined. He looks like he was getting in good shape, and people were hyping him up as a contender. Went out there, beat up Chase Sherman, who I believe took it on short notice, absolutely dominated him, submitted him. And people were like, yeah, Romanov's the new contender in the heavyweight division. Then he drops a fight against Marcin Tybura. Then the way he looked against Alexandr Volkov was one of the most embarrassing displays I've seen since Braxton Smith. And I don't even know which one was first, but they were comparative in how embarrassing the performance was. Romanov gassed out in 1 minute, then got dominated on the ground and finished by Volkov. Jailton Almeida could have been fighting for a title this July if he didn't fumble badly against Curtis Blades. This man, Jailton Almeida, I thought his grappling was a little bit overrated. As crazy as it is, and as much as I don't like to elevate guys off of losses, and especially a KO loss like Jailton Almeida lost to Curtis Blades, I actually have a newfound respect for him. The way he was picking up a heavyweight in Curtis Blades, who's huge, strong, probably cuts weight to get 265, and was ragdolling him, was a sight to behold. I've never seen that type of performance before. At least not in recent memory of a guy that big getting ragdolled, especially considering Curtis Blades has a really good grappling. Now, does Jailton Almeida have the best striking? No. There's definitely some massive holes on the feet, but is Romanov going to make him pay for that? I don't think so. Romanov's not good on the feet himself. I think he's a little bit better than Jailton Almeida, but Almeida has more power. Almeida's going to shoot it on a single leg immediately, double leg immediately, pick him up, dump him on his head, dominate him on the ground. The one complaint I have about Almeida is the lack of ground and pound shots. It drives me nuts. But overall, I mean, was winning against Curtis Blades, got KO'd with elbows to the head, dominated Derek Lewis, dominated Jairzinho Rozenstruik, finished him, dominated Shamil Abdurakhimov. Not the greatest of wins, but when you look at Romanov, Blagoy Ivanov in his last fight, in an uninspired performance. Jailton Almeida comes out, shoots immediately, ragdolls him to the ground. Late, middle, first round, Romanov's already, fish out of water, sucking for air because he has no stamina. Unless he shows up and he has six-pack abs on the scale on Friday, maybe we'll turn this to a second round finish. I'm going Jailton Almeida to get a first round rear naked choke. I think he subs him. I wanted to pick Almeida by TKO because Romanov does have decent jiu-jitsu. He showed it in his last fight against Blagoy Ivanov, but Almeida doesn't throw ground and pound. It's very rare he's throwing ground and pound shots, especially in his last few fights. Maybe he brings that back a little bit. Maybe his team is like, look, Almeida, you got to be a little bit more active when you're on top. You can't just constantly look for submissions. You got to mix in the striking and the ground and pound to find the submission. So maybe he does in this fight. I wanted to desperately pick him by TKO via ground and pound, but I'm picking him via first round rear naked choke. Jailton Almeida gets it done. Moving up on the card to the featured fight on the card, we have Kevin Holland versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Talk about Dana White privilege. Kevin Holland, another big spot on the card when this dude just loses and loses and loses and loses and loses. Am I picking against Kevin Holland again? I've said, look, I'm not picking Kevin Holland. He's way overhyped. Dude gets Dana White privilege. Dude fumbles every single time he gets a big fight. He's on a big spot on a big card, but they're giving him an opponent in Mikhail Oleksiejczuk that should be very winnable for Kevin Holland. You look at his last few fights. Michael Venom Page got dominated by Michael Venom Page. Had some moments in that second round where he almost found a rear naked choke. But the way Michael Venom Page was like tripping him to the ground with ease and just shucking him to the ground like a little bitch, I can't forget that considering MVP has garbage grappling. Then the fight before that, Jack Della Maddalena. Had a decent showing against Jack Della Maddalena. Okay, fair enough. Before that, beat Michael Chiesa, dead corpse. Before that, beat Santiago Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio was like winning large portions of that fight and then getting hurt at the end of the round. So I don't even think that was a great performance. Before that, retired, quit on the stool against Wonderboy Thompson. Was getting just destroyed by Wonderboy. And I don't think there's that much shame in that. But then you have Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, who got destroyed by Michel Pereira in his last fight. No shame in that, really. Chidi Njokuani was losing early in that first round, came back and won. Before that, a loss to Caio Baralho. This is really the technical striking of Kevin Holland, the straight punches of Kevin Holland versus kind of the slugging nature of Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. But Oleksiejczuk's actually not bad in the clinch and actually isn't bad on the ground, but he only takes opportunities for top position when his opponents make mistakes. He doesn't really shoot takedowns. It's like, I think he fought Cody Bumdage. Cody Bumdage took him down. He reversed position, ended up on top, beating him up. Chidi and Jaquani shot it on a takedown. He ended up on top. I want to see Oleksiejczuk shooting on takedowns. Is his team, is he smart enough to go out there and actually mix in the grappling? Because if he does, I think he wins this fight. But does he? I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. Kevin Holland has some of the worst grappling ever. It's gotten a little bit better, but... And also, he's moving back up to middleweight. He's been fighting these smaller guys at welterweight. You know, I'm going to go Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I do not believe in Kevin Holland. I don't think he's good. People just hype him up because he talks a lot. But really, every big spot he ever gets, he loses. So why should I pick him now when every single time he gets a big opportunity, he loses? You know, this isn't 2020 anymore when he's knocking out Jacare Souza. Okay, I think that was 2020. Or 2019, maybe. I think it was 2020, though. This isn't 2020. We're 4 years later. Kevin Holland hasn't gotten a lick better. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk goes out there, slugs it out, pressures, which is one of Kevin Holland's problems if he gets pressured. And I'm looking at MVP who has garbage grappling, tripping him to the ground, shucking him to the ground like he owns him. It was an embarrassing performance against MVP, especially with MVP's grappling background. So I'm going to go with Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I'm going to pick him to win. Kevin Holland's very durable, so I'm going to pick Oleksiejczuk via decision. Maybe like a 29-28 decision. Because I don't think Kevin Holland's chin's ready to give out yet. But don't be shocked. Oleksiejczuk literally slings some heavy shots. And Holland isn't that defensively responsible. But I'm going to go Oleksiejczuk via decision. I could see Kevin Holland winning via decision as well. But I'm not picking Kevin Holland. I think if Oleksiejczuk mixes in the clinch, mixes in the grappling, I think he gets it done. That's all he has to do is mix that in, get the top control. I think he gets it done on a massive card, a massive spot on a big card. It's not really a massive card. It's a very big pay-per-view. You got Islam Makhachev as the headliner versus Dustin Poirier, but huge spot on the card. Oleksiejczuk shows that Kevin Holland's a complete scrub, and Kevin Holland's going up to middleweight now, where the guys aren't as small as welterweight. I think he gets bodied by Mikhail Oleksiejczuk with the grappling. Kevin Holland has some moments where he's landing straight punches, but overall, I'm going Oleksiejczuk via decision. Moving up on the card to the co-main event, we have Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. I struggled with this pick. You guys already know the main event pick. I struggled with this pick. Look, my initial take on this fight, Strickland's going to win. By the way, this is 5 rounds. Unless they've changed it, this is 5 rounds, which I absolutely love. More, high-level fights need to be 5 rounds. And I'm happy that the UFC is actually doing it. I remember a day. Who remembers a day? Let me know down in the comments when you had UFC main events that were still 3 rounds. It used to be only title fights were 5 rounds. Who remembers those days? So anyway, you have a 5-round non-title co-main event. Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa. Listen, gut is telling me, or not gut, my brain is telling me Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland. He's going to just pop the jab out there. Even if he loses, a round or two, Costa's going to fade later on. The 5 rounds definitely favor Sean Strickland. My guess is his camp specifically asked for 5 rounds. But I'm also watching back, literally an hour ago, I was watching back Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. And Sean Strickland fights like a little bitch. He talks about to the death. He talks about, we're going to go to war and, this and that. And he's just, Sean Strickland's personality when it comes to talking about a upcoming fight reminds me of Izzy's walkout as The Undertaker. And then goes out there and doesn't even try to put a beating on Jarrett Cannonier. Sean Strickland against Dricus would have won that fight if he just had a little bit more forward pressure. Dricus backed him up, and in close rounds, Dricus edged it out because of his forward pressure. That is my take on that fight. Paulo Costa, what is his strength? His durability? I swear Paulo Costa wears damage like nobody else. He will walk through big shots and just eat you alive on the feet. Okay? And in some of those fights he loses, but he'll find his own shots. And I think against Strickland, who just pumps out the jab and throws a teep kick, if you have some close rounds here, the judges are going to favor Costa because of the forward pressure. So that's where I'm really struggling with this pick. Because I see Strickland just pumping a jab to a decision. He's very elusive, very hard to hit. But I see it being a close competitive fight. I think Costa's actually, better than his resume indicates. So I'm going to go Paulo Costa. I'm going to pick Paulo Costa to get it done. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it could borderline even be a robbery. Costa win. I could see there's some close rounds where Strickland probably should have won, but Costa was pressing forward. I'm going to pick Paulo Costa to get it done via decision. I'm going to pick Costa to win probably the first 3 rounds, maybe lose the last 2. Close fight, one of the rounds, maybe the second round was really close, but ultimately I'm going to pick Costa to get it done 48-47. Strickland just backs up and pumps the jab. He can say to the death, he can say this and that. He spars a lot, okay, he's been sparring, since he was a kid with his father. But you have Paulo Costa who's going to walk him down. I know Paulo Costa isn't super accurate and he gets his legs chewed up, but I'm looking at Costa looking decent in the 3rd round against Whitaker. I was worried about him in the 2nd round, but looking decent in the 3rd round against Whitaker. Before that, I get it. He beat Luke Rockhold, looked horrible in that fight, but it was at elevation. And he gassed out completely. Before that, I lost to Marvin Vettori. I think he had some injuries going in that fight. I don't want to sit here and make excuses for Paulo Costa in retrospect, but I think there's more to that fight behind the scenes than a lot of people know. Before that, lost to Israel Adesanya. He just got outclassed. I don't think Strickland has that ability to outclass Paulo Costa in that respect. Strickland's win against Adesanya, I don't want to call it an outright fluke, but Israel Adesanya did not take him seriously. He was drinking and driving and drinking a lot the month before the fight and not taking him serious. And even that fight, it was a shocking performance, but it was Izzy just backing up. If you just back up and back up and back up and back up, that's Strickland's fight. He'll move forward. He'll pump the jab, poke you with the jab, poke you with the teep kicks. And he'll win. He'll be elusive to hit. But I think Costa, his chin is made of granite. His body is made of granite. He has nasty kicks to the body, nasty spinning kicks, lightning fast head kicks. And I feel like he's developing his hands a little bit more. Doesn't have brutal KO power. I know people think he does because of his physique. But I'm watching him pump that jab against Robert Whitaker. I'm watching him walk down Robert Whitaker, who's throwing big shots and landing big shots. And Costa's just eating it. Strickland's known for his pillow punches. He's known for his lack of power. So I think Strickland, unless he adjusts his game plan here and has a little bit more forward pressure. I'm not even talking about, he doesn't have to pressure 24/7. Just pressure 20% more, 15% more. I think he'll win this fight via decision, but I don't think he will. I think he'll back up, pump the jab, think that's enough to get it done. Costa's going to walk him down, land similar amount of shots, but because of the forward pressure, he's going to eke out 3 rounds and win 48-47. Looking back at Strickland's career, lost to Jared Cannonier. What did Jared Cannonier do? Move forward. Lost the first round to Abus Magomedov. What did Abus Magomedov do? Move forward. Costa will move forward, and he's not going to be worried about the power coming back from Sean Strickland. So I'm going Paulo Costa to get it done, 48-47 decision. Moving up on the card to the main event, we have Islam Makhachev defending his lightweight title against Dustin Poirier. Is there really any other pick? Islam Makhachev wins this fight via submission. Rear naked choke. Dustin Poirier, every time he fights a really high-level grappler, he tends to lose by rear naked choke. And I'm looking at that fight against Benoit Saint-Denis. If he puts himself in those same bad situations against Islam Makhachev, he's getting subbed. If he gives up his back, Islam will not let him up. He will find that rear naked choke. I think in retrospect, BSD without the staph infection probably beats Dustin Poirier. And I don't like to make excuses. It is what it is. He showed up. He lost. He got KO'd. Dustin Poirier is scrappy as hell. I love Dustin Poirier. Don't get it wrong. But where does he win this fight? I think Islam Makhachev is the best striker in the UFC. Best striker in the UFC. And I know people are going to be like, what? This is MMA. So the threat of the takedown matters. His striking has evolved, and it's so good. He beat Alexandr Volkanovski primarily on the feet in the first fight. KO'd Volkanovski in the second fight. Be it was short notice, fair enough. I just don't. Dustin Poirier's getting old. He's talking about retirement. He got knocked out by Justin Gaethje not that long ago. Where does he beat Makhachev outside of a fluky KO? That's the only way Dustin Poirier wins. If Islam gets overconfident on the feet, starting to get a little bit tired, maybe he doesn't find the finish early, and he's, trying to get in on a takedown, and Dustin catches him with an uppercut in the 3rd round and brutally chins him. Is that possible? Sure. Is it going to happen? Highly unlikely. What's most likely to happen is Islam Makhachev is going to shoot takedowns. He's going to strike a little bit in the first round. He's going to shoot takedowns, get him down, dominate him on the ground. Sure, Dustin Poirier might scramble back to his feet, but guess what Islam Makhachev is going to have? He's going to have that back body lock that these Dagestani guys love, and then he's going to drag him to the ground. And then Poirier might get back up, get to a knee, get up on one foot and get to a knee, gets dragged right back down again. Then Islam eventually is going to take his back and choke him out. That is inevitable. You look at Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira ducked under a punch, snatched up his back, rear naked choke. You look at the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight. He's pulling guillotine. I mean, he was getting taken down and destroyed before. Not destroyed, but he was getting taken down and dominated before that. Looks for a guillotine on a Khabib Nurmagomedov shot. Ends up giving up his back, getting submitted. One of the deepest rear naked chokes I've ever seen in my entire life. If Dustin Poirier makes the mistake of constantly looking for that guillotine, it's going to screw him. Because he did it against BSD. It didn't screw him. Islam will not let him back up. Will not let him get free. Will not let him shake loose. Islam Makhachev will find the back, will find the body lock, will find the body triangle, and find the rear naked choke. It is inevitable. It is inevitable. And Islam's not going to brawl with him. Islam, I said it before, I think he's pound for pound number one right now. And of course, you know, I say it all the time, we have to appreciate these guys in a special moment in time because you never know, it could be like that. But Islam Makhachev's looking better than ever. He hasn't really taken any damage in his last few fights. Dominated Charles Oliveira, who dominated Dustin Poirier. That's an exact, never mind, I take that back. Who finished Dustin Poirier. And I know MMA math doesn't work, but Dustin consistently gives up his back over and over and over again. He gets taken down even if he hasn't given up his back. When he gets back to his feet up against the fence, he's giving up his back. He loves to give other men his back. I picked Benoit Saint-Denis via rear naked choke as well against Dustin Poirier. I was wrong. Dustin Poirier got it done, but Benoit Saint-Denis was fighting a wild, crazy. He was getting in the pocket in the telephone booth with Dustin Poirier, slugging it out. We know who's going to win those exchanges, okay? It's Dustin Poirier. But Islam's not going to make that mistake. Unbelievable striking. I think some of the best striking in the UFC, if not the best striking in the UFC. Excellent grappling, some of the best grappling in the UFC, if not the best. An amazing fight IQ, which I don't think anybody really talks about too much. Islam Makhachev has excellent fight IQ. Should he watch the guillotine? Yes, he should. Dustin, even on BSD, I know we laugh about the guillotine from Dustin Poirier against Khabib. Even against BSD, there was a couple times where it was very close. Khabib, had to go to his side to kind of relieve the pressure and eventually found his way out. I don't think Islam Makhachev should try to bait that guillotine because next thing you know, he ends up in a guillotine. He's tapping out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Islam has better BJJ. I think he has better striking. I think he has better grappling. I think he has... I don't know where Dustin Poirier's advantage is outside of Islam deciding to go to war with him on the feet, which I do not believe will happen. So I have to go Islam Makhachev. I'm picking him via rear naked choke. I'm going to say second round rear naked choke for Islam Makhachev. I just don't know how you can look at this fight and see it going any other way. I really don't. Dustin Poirier, in the biggest moments in his career, he loses. And I know he's had some big moments that he's won as well, the Conor McGregor fights. Conor McGregor, washed up 2020, 2021 Conor McGregor is not Islam Makhachev, okay? Let's not even convolute that. So Islam Makhachev gets it done, takes Dustin down, controls him, finds the back, finds the rear naked choke. I'm going to say the first round, Makhachev tests his striking a little bit against Dustin, lands some decent shots. Maybe Poirier has a moment. But minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the round, he'll shoot a takedown. He'll find a takedown. He'll get some control. He'll do some damage. Maybe get close to a submission by the end of the first round. Second round, he'll shoot earlier. He'll find a takedown. Dustin may even look for a guillotine. Islam will get out of it, find the back, find a rear naked choke. I'm going Islam Makhachev via second round rear naked choke. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, share the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.